Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you are listening to a Radulich and Broadcasting premiere podcast. Damn you, Hollywood! And here's your host. He cares a lot about disasters, fires, floods, and killer bees. He cares a lot about the NASA shuttle falling in the sea. He cares a lot about starvation and the food that Live Aid bought. He cares a lot about disease, baby rock, Hudson Rock. Oh, it's a dirty job, but Robert Winfree's gotta do it because he cares a lot. Ladies and gentlemen, Robert Winfree.
I feel that would have gone over better if I understood the reference you were making.
It's not for you.
Fair enough.
That's We Care a Lot by Faith No More.
Okay. That would kind of explain why I'm not familiar with it, because I dislike that particular group. Anyway, hello everyone. This is Damn You Hollywood. I'm Robert Winfree. That is my... Oh, what do we tend to say? The butt to my stuff? The cue to my anon?
Yes.
the casual to my fan? It's Mark Radulich, who is taking a break from his duties as a husband, father, and generally upstanding member of society to be here and engage in these shenanigans. Mark, how are you?
I'm doing good. You know, we've spent the entire week looking at neon-drenched, gritty crime noir crossed with French film new wave. It's kind of fun to just review a movie. Just a movie. It's just there. It's hanging out.
Yeah. This isn't full-on art house, but it clearly wants to be. It just lacks the appropriate sensibilities. Anyway, if the intro wasn't a big enough clue for you, tonight we are discussing the Netflix exclusive I Care a Lot. Somewhat ironically, I do not care at all a lot about this movie, but we'll get into the specifics. It predominantly stars Rosamund Pike. She is the character we follow, with also featuring Peter Dinklage, who is which is the name that attracted me to this project.
Yeah, can you talk about that for just like 50 words or less? Because we've already said, if you've listened to our last couple of Damn You Hollywoods, Robert Winfree kind of had an epiphany that if we don't start doing some of these straight-to-stream movies, we're never going to end up doing Damn You Hollywood, and this podcast will die on the vine. So he threw a bunch of titles at me, and we're like, these are the ones we're doing. These are the ones I want to do. This is what I'm excited about. This is the ones I think we should talk about. And this one was on there. Like Space Sweepers made sense. Outside the Wire totally made sense. That's actually in our wheelhouse. What the hell made you, other than Peter Dinklage? Because you already said that.
It was pretty much just Peter Dinklage.
Oh, okay. So if Peter Dinklage was like juggling oranges, you'd have made me watch that?
Again, when we did this, it was, like you mentioned, I looked at the schedule, and you had like 2.5 months without... correct me if I'm wrong there. There was this giant dead space between like the start of January and the middle of March.
There wasn't a lot, no.
Where there's, essentially nothing. And then some things got moved around, because they always do. But I looked at that, and I just kind of went, shows have their own momentum. If we go that long without doing this, either the audience is just going to completely evaporate, or our interest is going to evaporate, or both. So we need something here to just keep the cogs in the machine turning over a little bit. So I looked through Netflix's release schedule and kind of went, okay, what potentially appeals to me, to us, what's in our wheelhouse, and what am I just kind of interested in? And there's a couple of things about this one in particular that this movie has been wildly miscategorized. I think it was still listed as a comedy.
Before you get into that, I just want to say there were 2 other movies that came out this past weekend where it would have lined up to where we could review it. We could have done Flora and Ulysses. That's on Disney Plus. You decided not to. I'm just saying. Alison Hannigan, Ben Schwartz, Janine Garofalo, talking superhero squirrel. Come on.
Yeah, that all sounds terrible.
All right, go on.
Again, this is miscategorized. Like, I looked in just the release schedule, it was like, hey, it's a black comedy thriller. Like, hey, I like dark humor. Then I watched the thing and went, okay, no. If this had been appropriately categorized, like, again, it's not a black comedy. Like, it's really not. I don't know who thought it was. I mean, clearly, it's like the writer did, which just goes to explain so many of the problems with this thing. If it had just been, hey, dramatic thriller in the style of Michael Clayton and The Wolf of Wall Street, which is kind of where this movie draws most of its inspiration from, like some combination of those two things, I would have passed. I would have looked at that and gone, you know what? No. I just don't think that's... I don't think it's all that interesting. I don't think it necessarily fits with what we do here most of the time. Not all the time, but most. But because it said, hey, dark, again, black comedy, and I like dark humor. I really do. I was misled by whoever categorized this, and shame on them for that. That's my other thing here is, you know what? If they'd appropriately said what this was, I would not have said we should do this. Or if I did, it would have I don't know, maybe my pitch to you would have been different or some such, but no. I was misled. My expectations were set a specific way. They were not upheld. There's that. That's just kind of where that is. All I saw was black comedy thriller starring Peter Dinklage. And I went, sure. Like, who could object to this? And then it turns out to be only moderately thrilling, completely without black comedy, and 80 to 90% Rosamund Pike. So, yeah. Truth in advertising, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, so let's get into what is this thing actually about.
Well, we follow predominantly Marla Grayson, who is ostensibly a professional legal guardian. Our first scene is the son of one of her wards, who is objecting because he's not being allowed to see his mother. He is constantly being not allowed to see her. He disagrees with the assessment that she is unfit to care for herself, and objects to the handling of her affairs that Rosamund Pike is doing, specifically selling off all of her assets, liquidating them, and then pocketing most of the cash. Marla makes a half-assed argument in court, but the judge buys it because reasons. And we discover that she is, in fact, doing all of that. She constantly finds the elderly who have either no one else in their lives or various strange relationships with their family, gets them declared incompetent or either completely incompetent or just in need of a legal guardian, has them placed in her care, then she hollows out their lives, pockets most of the cash, and has just turned this into a business. The kind of inciting incident here is the death of one of her wards who was supposed to live for a few more years. So she goes looking for a replacement and is directed to the perfect Mark, a woman with no family, sitting on a pile of cash. And the doctor, this woman's, the character is played by Diane Wiest, and her doctor is willing to go along with this because she gets a piece of the action. So they have her declared in need of a legal guardian. Marla ships her off to an old folks' home, which is run by someone else who is in on it. The whole thing is very interconnected like that. They sell all of her assets. They remodel and then go to sell the house. They empty out her bank accounts. The whole nine yards. One of the things they find is a safety deposit box that contains a fair amount of uninsured, unmarked diamonds. While they're going about their merry way, turns out that this woman is not actually a helpless little old lady. She is the mother of a Russian, a Russian mafia boss. And she's been placed here in hiding because this Russian crime boss faked his own death to avoid problems. And now they're just kind of living out their life. He's still engaged in nefarious activities, but he's a little bit more clandestine about it now. That particular character, our pseudo-Russian crime boss, played by Peter Dinklage, he profoundly objects to what's happened to his mother, as one might. So he sends a lawyer after Marla to try and threaten her and bribe her, and Marla says, well, if you're willing to pay me $300,000, why not $10 million, like you do? This escalates. Peter Dinklage has the physician killed, tries to stage an armed breakout of his mother from the home. That's thwarted by the cops. But now Marla's realized how much trouble she's in because she has pissed off the wrong people. Peter Dinklage winds up abducting her. She tries to negotiate with him. This goes poorly, but she doesn't die because plot armor. Which is a major gripe I have about her character throughout this entire movie. So she escapes a car that was driven into deep water because, again, plot armor. She and her girlfriend plan revenge. They sneak into... They find out where Peter Dinklage is staying. They sneak in. They drug him. They have him declared a John Doe. Marla has herself declared as guardian. They confront each other at the hospital. And she again says, seriously, $10 million. Because that's the point when my meaningless, hollow life will start to be fulfilled. His response is, that's really small potatoes. This is why you're stuck at the level you are. How about we start a business? I want to take your little con, and I want to build 8 different companies around it. I want a care facility wing. I want a legal wing. I want a pharmaceutical wing. I want your guardianship to be a wing. You get to be CEO and co-founder of all of this, and we're going to make each other billions of dollars. I want the Grayson Guardians name to extend across the world, or at least the country, because the laws are different depending on where you go, and we will become filthy, stupid rich. She goes along with this because money. They are wildly successful at it. She's looking to get her happily ever after. However, after leaving an interview, the son of the gentleman we met at the opening sequence, whose mother was being kept from seeing his mother and whatnot, shows up and says, my mother died in that crappy facility, and I never got to see her, and then shoots Rosamund Pike dead, like you do. Yeah, this is, where do you want to... Again, I have issues with this. There's some good stuff about it, but I do not understand in particular, the hype around Rosamund Pike's performance that this seems to be generating. It's not like I want to be very clear. She doesn't do a bad job by any stretch of the imagination. But I do not understand she got nominated for a Golden Globe for Best Actress, Musical, or Comedy. Maybe that's why they listed this as a black comedy, because there's no way her performance would hold up under dramatic scrutiny.
Okay, so a couple of things, because I don't have a tremendous amount to say about this. This is one of those movies where, like, I watched stuff happen, and it's well acted. I mean, look, there's kind of a good, bad, and ugly here. The good is it's well acted. It looks nice. The characters are well dressed, in like their costumes. I mean, we're not talking like Dune here, but I mean, for people in this environment with this story, there are some very nice suits. she has a very nice wardrobe. Everyone is dressed well. It's a weird thing. We don't ever really talk about costuming on here, but something that jumped out at me that for a upper middle class group of white people and one Hispanic, they the fashion in it I thought was fascinating. Especially the lawyer that tries to rescue Diane Wiest. He had some really sharp looking suits. So again, well acted. These are competent actors. Rosamund Pike, Peter Dinklage. If you're in it just for performance, I think both of them give you enough. I don't think it needs to win any awards, but I think if you're talking about 2 hours you killed on a Netflix movie, there are worse things you could be watching in terms of performance. So all that's good. All that tracks. The story is really underwritten. It's like I said, it's a kind of
horribly.
You're watching kind of a thing that happens, and it's a race between two shitty people to see who's going to come out the success. And up until the very, very end, they both they agree to work together, and they both get away with it. And you're left wondering, okay, I know this is a comment about modern capitalism, which I'm fine with. I am fine with sort of a dramatic essay on why capitalism sucks and the little guy gets squished and the heartless rule the world. Whether or not you agree with that premise, it's a premise, a strong one, and something that I think can elevate a film. And I think it does in this case.
For the record, I don't. But
okay, who cares?
No. But I see your point. It has a point of view.
Right. And so I'm in it for the point of view. I think this one has a strong one. I think they execute it fairly well, in terms of it being extremely cynical. And so if you're that kind of person and you gravitate to that sort of film, you'll really like this. My problem is when I thought it was going to end with, and they were successful and lived happily ever after, grifting millions of old people, I was like, oh, well, that's shitty and gross, and I don't particularly like what this movie is saying. It's saying it well enough. It's articulating it well enough. I'm not crazy about the message. Then she gets shot by the incel from the beginning of the movie.
Oh, come on. That is not a fair way to categorize that guy. We don't know nearly enough about him to say that.
We don't, but that is exactly what they were going for.
Okay, sure. And
okay, short, fat, white, bearded guy. They did everything but give him a Ku Klux Klan robe.
Yeah.
To make him look shitty. As shitty as humanly possible. There's a million... He didn't need to be anything, okay? He didn't need to be white. He didn't need to be black. He didn't need to be Hispanic. He maybe just needed to be male to make that scene work. Maybe.
Well, sure, because we must be reminded constantly that she's a strong, powerful woman who literally does not need no man. She much prefers the company of women.
Well, she does a bit there about, about being called a bitch and whatnot, and it doesn't work if she's being confronted by a woman. So again, all that character needed to be was male. They went for it, though. They were like, nope, short, fat, bearded, white. They were clearly making a point.
Wearing a red hat.
Wearing, yes. It might as well have said, "Make America Great Again." It's
subtlety is not part of the messaging of this movie.
So again, I'm not. If you want to debate me on the specifics of whether or not he gets laid, that's a waste of time. Let me have my thing. When she gets shot by the incel from the beginning of the movie, there's at least a line of it doesn't always. The bad guys don't always win. They might win for a while, but karma catches up to you. Okay, at least I can walk away from this not feeling completely gross and dirty. Other than that, it's just kind of meh. I think the idea that there's all these nooks and crannies and crevices within modern capitalism for a smart person to steal and take advantage of others in a moderately legal but morally unethical way is interesting, and I think there's. I wish that had been explored by more competent writers. Well, that's the thing. Like, well, you don't want the movie to get overly complicated.
Hold on. I don't need the minutia.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I really don't need. This is not the movie to have two lawyers debating subsections of
Care law.
Of care law. Yeah. I don't need a treatise on that.
Mm-hmm.
When I say I wish that this had been explored by a more competent writer, I just mean even within the structure of this own story.
Okay.
Here's one of my big gripes with this movie. Rosamund Pike should have been dead after about the 30-minute mark.
Okay, sure.
They go out of their way to establish Peter Dinklage as a scary man, right?
Yeah.
There's literally zero reason for him not to just kill her.
Sure.
I mean, the diamonds. He goes out of his way later to go, nah, nuts to them. Like,
well, he didn't know how to. Well, what part of the movie are you talking about? Because they tried to just take her out of the facility,
sure.
And that didn't work.
At that point, you're her legal guardian. You get shot in the head. Now, Your Honor, we need a new guardian.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
We strong arm this one.
Right.
Her thing about, you can buy me for an exorbitant amount of money, shoot you in the head. Okay, next guardian. Here's your $150,000. You gonna get my mother out of there? What do you think they're gonna do?
Yeah. I get what you're saying. That if you're trying to rob the mafia is not going to tolerate your shenanigans, and they will find smart, lawyerish people to do their bidding for them and make it all work, even if they don't necessarily know how. That isn't the story they wanted to tell. They wanted to tell a story about this broad.
I'm aware of that, and again, this is my gripe about the writing. If you get to a point where the only excuse for your characters surviving is other characters acting contrary to their nature as established within your movie, you have failed in your writing.
Fair enough. That is a valid point.
I mean, I referenced a couple of other... Here's my other gripe with this thing, and you and I both kind of agree on this, so we need to kind of kick this one around. You can make movies about terrible people doing terrible things. And you can make very good movies about terrible people doing terrible things. See any number of examples. The Godfather.
They name one here in the wiki that this got compared to. Like, this is a worse version of that. Keep going, and I'll see if I can find it.
Okay, so you have The Godfather, Wolf of Wall Street, There Will Be Blood. Those are all movies fundamentally driven by terrible people doing terrible things, but there being something engrossing, especially about the lead performance, that keeps the audience engaged. Michael Clayton, I think, was another one that I mentioned, because that's where this movie draws a lot of inspiration from. I shouldn't say a lot, but enough. If you're listening to this, and I'm sure you out there listening have your own examples. Hey! Drop that! Sorry, I had to yell at the dog. That was imperative. Had to yell at her about that. Point being, you can think of examples from that do all of these. The big, I cannot stress enough how necessary, how fundamentally imperative it is that this following part be done correctly.
Gone Girl. That's the one they mentioned.
Gone Girl is a much better version of this in some respects. Also starring Rosamund Pike, for the record. Well, not starring, but she features heavily in it. I think it technically stars Ben Affleck. Forgive me, I forget who gets top billing as far as that goes. The biggest part of any of those movies is the lead performance. There has to be something engrossing. There has to be something captivating. You have to be interested in what this character is doing and how they're doing it.
Yeah, let me break in here. The problem with Marla Grayson is when we meet her, she's already given up on life. She has decided everyone is shit, the world is shit. I just need to figure out how I'm going to take care of me and my girlfriend, and that's it, and the nuts to everything else. And it's not like we meet her at the point at which she reaches that epiphany. She done made that epiphany a while ago, and she is deep into it and just living her life, doing her thing. And so, as a character, she's very flat. She's just, I'm not afraid of men. The world is crap. I'm going to take what's mine, and there's nothing you can do about it. And if I die, I die. Great. you have just sucked any possible tension out of this movie by giving us this flat who gives a shit character.
Yeah. Again, if you look at some of those movies I mentioned have deeply compelling performances.
Mm-hmm.
You just need someone who is charismatic enough to draw the audience in. And I don't know. Again, I'm not sure how much of this is on Rosamund Pike. I'm not sure how much of this is on the writer/director, because he did both. Oh, or the editing. I don't know. I don't know where. Again, how much of this blame should be apportioned to each party. But somewhere along the line, that did not mesh here.
I feel like it's in the writing, in all honesty.
I would tend to agree with that. There's just nothing. There's nothing about the writing of this that really kind of keeps drawing you in. Now, and I can't stress this enough. The number of times this woman survives simply because the movie isn't over yet.
Yeah.
And so look, I mean, we mentioned a few others, so just for the record, let's run through another, just very briefly. Breaking Bad, which follows, again, it's a loosely similar kind of setup, right? I mean, if we talk very, very broad strokes, you're following terrible people doing terrible things. You very clearly need Walter White to be alive until the show is over. But there are points wherein he knows he should be dead. He knows he's up against it, whether it's, him having to... I mean, he escapes through the desert a few different times. Like, he runs... There's a little bit of fortuitous circumstance once or twice, but the big one for me tends to come when Gus is about to have him killed. And he knows Gus is about to have him killed. He knows he has outlived his usefulness. So what does he do? Does he rely on plot contrivance? No, he sends Jesse to kill the other chemist, whose name escapes me at the moment. Which Jesse does. Then when Gus has Walt and Jesse, isolated, and they both know they could be about to die here very, very easily. Gus has demonstrated a willingness to kill people. He will kill people in the future. And the only thing that they have is, your business still needs us to function. And they know that that's it. If he decides that they're not worth the hassle, they're just dead. But they have created a circumstance wherein he does need them. So one of my favorite scenes, Gus comes down, very calmly gets dressed in a hazmat suit, and then slits the throat of one of his subordinates while staring them down. They are alive. They are alive through their own guile in response to the circumstance. They are not alive because, oh, hey, I didn't drown in the car when I was supposed to and then swam to safety. That's ridiculous.
Right. Yeah, they dope her up real good. Enough that she's supposed to stay unconscious while they set the car in motion so that it drives off a bridge, basically, into the water. And sinks, and she'll drown to death. And they put a bottle of vodka in there just to make it look like she got drunk and drove off the road. And no sooner than they set that car in motion, she wakes up.
Yeah, that's not... I hate to do the "that's not how this works" thing for this, but that's not how ether works. You are not out for that short a period of time.
No.
I mean, best case scenario, you could argue the shock of the cold water hitting her wakes her up. But even then, she would then have to have the wherewithal and the know-how to survive the car being submerged, to get out, all without drowning, and then swim to the surface. I'm sorry, I'm not buying it.
Yeah. I honestly think they threw that in there because they realized that in this weirdly hard-to-define genre movie, they didn't have a compelling action scene, and they felt like they needed one, so they created one. And they wanted to put the hero, the protagonist, in enough peril to build some degree of tension. And I feel like they didn't have enough faith in their own writing here to just build tension with the tools they created for the movie.
Yeah.
You've got a mafia boss. You've got this woman who's sort of skating the crevices of care law. There were ways in which you could have put her in peril without just going, fuck it, let's drown her. Okay.
Yeah, I completely... I mean, look, the lawyer, they have... they have the lawyer try to make a legal case at some point. I feel like if you want to build some more tension, what you try to have them do is build more of a legal case against her. Like you really dive down and you interview, the relatives of past or current clients. You have people, you have your forensic hitmen go through, go through all of her financials. Like you really drill down and then try to blackmail her that way.
Right.
But again, that would require a strength of writing in terms of both story and dialogue that this doesn't have.
Here's the thought: kidnapped Eiza Gonzalez. Okay, she wasn't going to let her die, and you're the mafia. Kidnap Eiza Gonzalez, who plays Fran, who's her partner and girlfriend, and say, "Listen, she's in a closet. We're going to kill her. Fix it. And then you can get her back. We'll trade. My mom for this broad. Done. Movie's over." Because she'll either do it or she's an even worse person than we think she is. Because she's like, nah, just kill her. I'll get a new Hispanic.
Yeah, there's so many just kind of missed opportunities in this particular film as far as stuff like that goes. It's not terribly well thought out.
Nah. This definitely feels like they wanted to make an editorial comment about. It's described in the wiki as late-stage capitalism. I call it modern capitalism. Either way, they're making a comment about the state of the world today vis-a-vis the rich get richer and the poor get poorer, which is fine. It's just not, and if you don't, it's one of those where if you're not really doing critical analysis the way we are, if you're not doing film analysis and you're just sort of watching things happen, it was an entertaining enough 2 hours. I wasn't bored. And I think, I think about, my dad who hates our podcast. Because we criticize way too much, but that's film analysis, as I keep reminding him. I think like him and my mom, you know what I mean? Like these are people in their 70s who are just want to watch a nice movie and be entertained and go to their Medicare protest or Democrat meeting, have lunch at the nearest bar and grill. They're just living their 70-year-old lives, and they're gonna watch this movie and go, "I was entertained. It was fine." She's a pretty woman. He's a good actor.
I question whether or not anyone would be. Here's my other gripe with this.
Mm-hmm.
There's no reason for this to be 2 hours.
Okay.
This is overlong. They stretch out sequences and interactions for.
Oh, it's not reffing too long.
Okay, sure. It's not 13 hours.
I'm just saying, like it's stretched out. I'm like, man, we've looked at stretched out this week. This was fine.
Okay, sure. If we're talking purely by comparison to other deliberately long-winded projects, sure. This is not nearly as protracted as other things. When I say this doesn't need to be 2 hours, this story does not need to be 2 hours.
No, this was a tight 90 minutes.
This really should have been cut down.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I think I wasn't necessarily looking at my watch. I think a couple of times I was left wondering where are they going with this. But
I made liberal after about the first 65 minutes or so. I started making liberal use of the skip forward function.
See, that's the weird thing. I didn't find myself wanting to do that. Like there are definitely with horror movies. But certain movies with sex scenes and whatnot, where I feel like we've gone past the point of making a point and now have gotten into grotesque. And I say that about sex scenes as well. Like now this is almost pornographic. Move on with the next scene. I've had to do that with some movies. I didn't have to do that with this. I didn't think there was. There are not long camera shots of her staring askance out the window. She's not having long drawn out conversations with people. I think it all moved rather snappy. I'm not saying there's things you couldn't cut, and I'm not saying there wasn't a way to whittle this down to about a tight 90 minutes. But I also didn't find myself going, speed this the fuck up already.
Well, again, I think if I had watched this without having watched Too Old to Die Young very recently,
someone better throw a pie real soon.
Look, I'd settle for someone just speaking in a normal human cadence. If I hadn't watched that recently, I think it would have been worse. But the fact that I had something that was so drawn out and deliberately drawn out. I mean, I don't mean to say that what Refn made was somehow incompetent in that respect. He was doing very specifically what he wanted to do every step of the way.
Yeah.
But if you had watched something else if I had watched this like right after something like Space Sweepers, it would have been worse. It would have been much more, this doesn't serve a purpose, this doesn't serve a purpose, you're not doing anything with this sequence, this should have ended 2.5 minutes ago, trim this, trim this, trim this, I don't need X, Y, and Z, etc., etc. Like, the fact that I had something else that was so very, very deliberate in its pacing right before this probably helped it.
Okay. Yeah, overall, I would say if you're, middle-aged or older and you're looking for something to watch on Netflix to kill 2 hours, it's fine. I don't think Rosamund Pike should win a Golden Globe for this.
Golden Globes mean about as much as Grammys.
Well, they are usually, if I am correct about this, Golden Globes are usually the canary in the coal mine for who's going to get nominated for an Oscar.
Usually, but it can vary. It depends on the strength from each category, because the Golden Globes do separate between drama and musical/comedy. Mm-hmm. Depending on what, I haven't seen the full list of nominations for the acting from the Golden Globes because I don't care. Awards have deteriorated into a giant amount of just soapboxing, masturbatory exercises.
The irony is I don't care either, but I'm being pushed into caring now. So I have to start paying attention to this for whatever reasons are. In any case, I don't think she needs to win an award for this. I didn't think it was that good. But
no, I mean, again, if I wanted to get really... And let me... Portugal. I need Portugal. Why would you give me Portugal there? Hang on.
I don't need no Portuguese. What's all this?
No, not 2011. God.
All right. Well, you do that.
21.
I'm gonna do something else instead. So the goofy intro that I did, right, was "We Care a Lot" by Faith No More from the album "Introduce Yourself," and you can find if you thought my rendition of Faith No More's "We Care a Lot" was fun, and you want to hear the the actual song in its entirety, and you like Faith No More, or you find yourself liking Faith No More, and you want to hear more from their 1990 album "Introduce Yourself," you can actually find it on AmazonMusic.com. Yes, sir, Bob. Faith No More's "Introduce Yourself" is right there on Amazon.com, and if you sign up right now using our link, which is getamazonmusic.com/W2M network. That's getamazonmusic.com/W2M network. You can get yourself a free 30 days of Amazon Music, and you can stream all the Faith No More you want, starting with Introduce Yourself right on. Introduce Yourself right on. Introduce Yourself, Robert Winfree, right on. You could listen to Anne's Song, Chinese Arithmetic, that's a good one, the Crab Song. Oh, old Faith No More is great Faith No More, and it's all there for you waiting on AmazonMusic.com. Go to AmazonMusic.com/W2M network right now for your free 30 days. What else could you possibly... Where else would you possibly want to get your music from? Did you find your fucking link yet?
Yes, I did. Okay.
Go.
So our list of our nominees for Best Performance by an Actress in a Musical or Comedy. We have Maria Bakalova for Borat's subsequent movie film. Kate Hudson for music, Michelle Pfeiffer for French Exit, Anya Taylor-Joy for Emma, and Rosamund Pike for I Care a Lot. She is, I think, pretty manifestly the weakest of all of those performances.
Yeah, I suspect Michelle Pfeiffer gets it for French Exit.
Now, if we wanted to include, and because the Oscars do not differentiate by category, our current list of our nominees for Best Actress, for Best Performance by an Actress in a Drama, are Viola Davis for Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, Andra Day for the United States versus Billie Holiday, Vanessa Kirby for Pieces of a Woman, Frances McDormand for Nomadland, and Carey Mulligan for Promising Young Woman. I tend to think Carey Mulligan has the weakest performance out of those, and neither of those two have much hope of landing an Oscar nom.
No, I think Carey Mulligan gets it because Me Too.
You are the worst.
I know people.
Viola Davis wins because she's black.
No, we're not doing black people this year. We're doing Me Too. Carey Mulligan gets it.
If that's the argument, then it's between her and Vanessa Kirby, and again, I think Vanessa Kirby did a better job.
Vanessa Kirby, you said Vanessa Kirby was Pieces of a Woman?
Yeah.
Yeah, I hadn't seen it, so I can't compare. But listen, if you're gonna give it to two people,
well, don't you understand that Vanessa Kirby is attractive enough to be sexually harassed?
Thanks, Variety. And with that said,
never letting that go.
Let's talk about what's in the news.
And now I'm up at News Flash.
There's no money. There's no money to discuss. I don't even have a budget here, so screw it. But the worldwide box office, I do at least like to do that once a week. If we do at least one of these shows a week, I at least like to hit the box office at least once. So the box office currently stands at Hi Mom is the number one with 624 million worldwide, all foreign. Detective Chinatown 3, 621, which broke all kinds of records, all foreign. A Writer's Odyssey got 113 million worldwide, 94,000 came from domestic sales. Boonie Bears the Wildlife, 77 million, all foreign. NASA Reborn, 50 million, all foreign. Endgame, not Avengers, 42,900,000, all foreign. So I'm from the rest of this list on, it's all foreign unless I say otherwise. The Yin Yang Master, 36 million. Big Red Envelope, 32. Master, 28. The Last Warrior, Root of Evil, comes in at number 10 at 28. And we don't start seeing stuff with domestic tallies until number 12. The Little Things, which was an HBO split jam on HBO Max and in traditional theaters. The Little Things has 20 million worldwide with 11 million domestic. The Marksman, which had only a theatrical run starring Liam Neeson, had a 15 million worldwide, 11 million of which came from us Americans who like Westerns. And then skip. We get to number 20. Tom and Jerry, I guess, has already had its worldwide release. That's got 5,100,000 so far. That actually comes out tomorrow in American theaters, and it's split with HBO Max, which is where I will be watching it, and we will be reviewing it next week, as a matter of fact. A whole week dedicated to Tom and Jerry. Judas and the Black Messiah, 3,450,000. Almost all of which came from domestic. $50,000 came from foreign.
Nobody outside the United States has seen that movie.
Or gives a shit, apparently.
Look, there's a mark. I've said this before, and I don't know how much trouble it might potentially get me into, but both the Japanese and Chinese markets tend to fetishize African Americans. They're not interested in the actual story, but there's a reason the NBA is a big hit in China in particular. They have a near fetishization of black people, and this is not the story that's not the movie to watch if you're interested in If that's the extent of your interaction with people like that.
And if you're wondering how Willy's Wonderland is doing, it currently sits at 211,000. Though I can't imagine that's taking into account VOD sales.
That has to be just theatrical.
Yeah, that's theatrical, and that's actually all domestic. Hang on 1 second.
I imagine Willy's Wonderland will have a good life overseas.
It has had no life overseas currently.
It hasn't released anywhere.
Yeah, that 211,000 is all wherever theaters you happen to have found it in. If you didn't do like I did and just watch it on Amazon VOD.
Yeah. I rented it on Amazon, like I think most people would.
Yeah.
If this gets released overseas, it's wacky enough to I think have a decent life over there.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a whole lot of need for. We've talked about this in the past about how some movies, especially stuff that's dialogue heavy, the translation and or dubbing becomes very, very important to the experience. And then there's, Minions.
Barb and Star go to Vista Del Mar, which apparently is like wildly like crazy and funny. It's not what you think it is, from what the critically acclaimed guys tell me. Has made $2,500.
I think you and I could make a movie that would make that much money these days.
Yeah, no shit. All right. So that's
our mockumentary about the history of Clucky and combat sports would just be a smash. I maintain that would be a smash success. I have a loose treatment for it written up in my head.
They were afraid to take Clucky from his position at ringside even after his eyes had gone. All right.
No. Clucky is a much older entity. Look, if you want my elevator pitch for that after the show, I'm happy to give it to you.
Sure. That's its own podcast, The Life and Times of Clucky. All right. So that's where we are right now. I Care a Lot was actually one of only 3 films that got released on the 19th. The other one was Silk Road, starring Jason Clarke, that got put out by Lionsgate. And then the other one went right to Disney Plus, which is Flora and Ulysses, which just I listened to the critically acclaimed podcast. They reviewed that, which is weird. like that's normally something we would do, and they wouldn't, but they did.
What you need to do is make a pitch to them that, hey, how about we merge? You guys can do all the critical stuff. Leave me the silly stuff.
So apparently, Flora and Ulysses was so bad it should be studied. But there's a very specific reason it was really bad. There's a line in there where the kid says to her dad, mind you, this isn't a Marvel movie. It's not a Marvel property. This was based on a YA novel, from what I understand. I love you 3000.
So somebody said that in that movie?
Yep.
Why would you do that?
Because they kept referencing other Disney IP throughout the movie.
That's stupid.
It's horrible. Tomorrow in the movies, here's what's being released, whether in theaters or in VOD or whatever. Tom and Jerry, the aforementioned Tom and Jerry movie, is HBO Max and traditional theaters split. Cherry, limited run in theaters, and then I believe March 12th goes straight to Apple TV. The United States versus Billie Holiday is exclusively Hulu. Crisis, starring Gary Oldman and Armie Hammer. And Evangeline Lilly.
You know what? That sounds awesome.
Yeah, what is this? Where can I find it? All right, so
tell me where I can find that. In all seriousness, I will watch that even if just on my own time.
This might be going to traditional theaters. Hang on, let's do some reading here. Crisis is an upcoming 2021 crime thriller, written, produced, and directed by Nicholas Jarecki. It stars Gary Oldman, Armie Hammer, Evangeline Lilly, Greg Kinnear, Michelle Rodriguez, Luke Evans, Lily Rose Depp, with Scott Mescudi and Martin Donovan. Scheduled to be released February 26th by Quiver Distribution. Set against the backdrop of the opioid epidemic. Go on. 3 stories follow a drug trafficker arranging a multi-cartel fentanyl smuggling operation, an architect recovering from oxycodone addiction, searching for her missing son, and a university professor who battles unexpected revelations about his employer at a pharmaceutical company bringing a new non-addictive painkiller to market. Okay, so you got me so far.
Yeah, I am down for this.
U.S. nationwide theatrical release, followed by a home entertainment release on March 5th, with an international release. Okay, so it sounds like you can get it VOD March 5th if you can't find it in the theaters tomorrow.
Let me check my local theater, actually. Now I'm...
we're both going like, wait a minute now.
We're adjusting the schedule as we speak.
I won't play the sound clip again, but yeah, we have breaking news here.
I actually can. I can. That's in my local theaters.
Hang on. Let's see if I can find it somewhere.
If I had to the next day, it would be... You not listing your showtimes that far out? What's the matter with you? Why would you do this to me? Don't tell me it's there, but then say, it might not be here by, Tuesday when I normally go watch movies in the theater.
Let's see. So I have like 3,000 AMCs around me. Let's go by our theaters. So let's see showtimes. There we go. For tomorrow. I mean, I can't go tomorrow because work. But let's say I wanted to. Let's see. There's Tom and Jerry, Nomadland, Judas and the Black Messiah, The Little Things, Land, The Marksman, The World to Come, Croods, Lord of the Rings, Return of the King, Wonder Woman, Monster Hunter, God's Compass. Nope, not playing in that theater. Let's try this one.
Okay, let's not kill the podcast by doing this.
And they suddenly got distracted by trying to find a movie they had no intentions to talk about.
Hey, hold on, no, seriously. If we can find this, I have every intention of doing this.
Okay, well, let's talk after the podcast about because it looks like March 5th it goes to VOD. So then it'll be available to both of us, and neither one of us have to leave our house for it, and then we can find a place on the schedule. Okay.
Yeah, I might just watch it beforehand in the theater because I want to, but yeah, we'll figure out when exactly later. But so coming soon on Damn You Hollywood, we'll talk Crisis because we don't just talk. We don't exclusively talk the stupid stuff. Because
I like the drugs, but I don't like the drugs, but the drugs like me is the song. God damn it! All right, moving on. So
the big news item that we're going to talk about after we've wasted that much time, the Paramount Plus whatever doohickey.
All right, can I introduce this, please? Because you're like stumbling through this already.
I'm just trying to set you up. So the Paramount had a big announcement. Mark, tell us all about it.
Thank you. CBS All Access is going away and is evolving into Paramount Plus so that it can be a more competitive streamer against Netflix, Disney Plus, and Hulu, and HBO Max. So, Peacock acquired the WWE Network. HBO Max threw its entire slate of theatrical movies onto its streamer. Disney Plus bought your childhood. These were all things that happened so that their streaming apps would be competitive with Netflix. And now everyone's got a bit of skin in the game and something to draw people to their streamers. This is Viacom's play at that, is to convert CBS All Access to Paramount Plus, bring in the library currently owned by Viacom, and create 97 new television shows with their existing IP, the way every single other company has with their own streamers. And so they did an entire presentation yesterday, and all kinds of stuff got announced, and we're going to go parse that out now and talk about it. The first thing that they said was a number of...
Hang on. Before we get into the specifics, I just have an observation that I saw on Twitter and think is entirely correct.
Yeah.
It's somewhat amazing how quickly streaming has fallen into the same trap that nearly killed traditional movies and broadcast that let streaming take over in the first place. Okay, streaming. We are the home for creativity. You don't want another retread or another spin-off or another reboot or reimagining or whatever, because that's all movies or broadcast television are these days. Mm-hmm. Come to streaming, we tell original stories. All of a sudden, here we must reboot Beavis and Butthead. Y'all are making the same stupid mistake that led to your success. Bra freaking vo.
Hollywood, The thing that eats itself. So there's already a typo in this. I think it's a typo because it's saying... Because I'm on Deadline. It says, Viacom spent the afternoon unveiling details Paramount Plus, its rebranded stream that will launch May 4th. I don't think it's May 4th. It's been March 4th. CBS All Access will be rebranded as Paramount Plus on March 4th. And that's what it says in its wiki. So I think the guy who wrote this fucked up and nobody bothered to edit.
It's a month that starts with M. Close enough for Deadline.
Great. That's a way to keep the bar high.
What, you want to talk about journalistic integrity in 2021? Really?
Yeah, for Deadline. All right, anyway.
Any of them, much less Deadline.
A number of theatrical movies will hit Paramount Plus after a 45-day theatrical window. So this is what Universal did. Universal, starting with Trolls, negotiated with the theater chains to be like, we're only going to have them in theaters for like a very short window, and then they go to streaming. And the theaters are like, fine, better than nothing. So they've negotiated theirs down to 45-day windows, and it starts with Mission Impossible 7 and A Quiet Place 2 and the Paw Patrol movie. Mission Impossible 7 comes out in November, Quiet Place 2 comes out in September, and I don't remember when the Paw Patrol movie comes out. My son no longer wants to see it. That said...
Good for him.
So scripted dramas. This is all stuff in the pipeline. None of this has a release date, okay? This is all like... They basically kind of did what Disney did a few years ago. Like, this is all the shit we're going to make. Okay?
When's it coming out? No, but we're going to make it.
Yeah, it's all in development. Suddenly, going back to our conversation we had about Martin Scorsese offline, suddenly there's going to be a lot of work for everybody. Anyone that goes to Hollywood right now should be able to find the job. There's enough projects in the works.
Provided you're willing to sell out any semblance of artistic integrity to work on 40-year-old IPs.
No, to paraphrase Daffy Duck, integrity schmegrity as long as I'm rich. Criminal Minds.
That is a Daffy Duck thing.
Who did I say?
No. That's a very Daffy Duck philosophy to have, so it's appropriate that it comes from him.
Yeah. All right, so they're doing a new Criminal Minds.
That show just... Okay, again, same problem as... hey, we're going to give you a streaming platform. Oh, what new is going to be on it? Well, we're going to relaunch Criminal Minds that only ended about, 2 years ago?
Flashdance, that movie from the 80s, Oh, What a Feeling, where, the gal sits in the chair and they hit her with a bucket of water. Well, they're making a series out of it.
That is... I think you gave me this list offhand, and my response was, that all sounds terrible. And you said, but Flashdance! And I kind of had to reassess for just a second. Like, okay... Maybe there might be a story to tell about you could maybe get Flashdance to work as a series. I will that one I will reserve judgment on premise. The premise might survive the serialization process.
Halo. Okay. Halo is moving from Showtime to Paramount Plus, and that's based on the video game. That has a tentative date of early 2022. Whatever. Landman, set in the proverbial boomtowns of West Texas, Landman is a modern-day tale of fortune-seeking in the world of oil rigs. This series is an upstairs-downstairs story of roughnecks and wildcat billionaires fueling a boom so big it's reshaping our climate, our economy, and our geopolitics. Next.
How about you enjoying that little wank fest you're having over there, buddy? That's all that is.
Love Story, starring Josh Schwartz and Stephanie Savage, the executive producers of Gossip Girl, The OC, and Looking for Alaska.
Okay, again, you really only need to look at what else they've produced to know how bad that's going to be.
The Mayor of Kingstown follows the McCluskey family, power brokers in Kingston, Michigan, where the business of incarcerations is only thriving. Oh, God.
We're going to get a really bad take on the prison system out of that, aren't we? Just the worst.
Tackling themes of systemic racism, corruption, and inequality, the series provides a stark look at their attempt to bring order and justice to a town that has neither. Yay!
Look, just blow me. What the? You could not have fit more buzzwords into that if you tried. There's not one that you could have put there. There isn't one. There just isn't. The only thing we know. Look, I can't wait for season 2 when they have to shoehorn in a sexual harassment story. Yay! What the? Who thinks this is a good idea?
Star Trek.
I know how we'll bring value to our streaming product. I'll get on a soapbox.
Star Trek: Strange New Worlds. This is based on the years of Captain Christopher Pike when he manned the Enterprise.
Star Trek is basically a dead IP at this point. Let's be honest.
Well, they're milking the dead body for all they can.
I'm not saying that there's not. When I say it's dead, I mean like creatively. It is creatively bankrupt. It has a bit of a built-in audience still, but nobody outside the deepest of hardcores cares about what Star Trek is going on and has for the last couple of years.
The Italian Job. Didn't we say all? Didn't we say all we needed to say with the remake of that with what's his face?
The remake I actually enjoy. I enjoy the original because
we did it on trial for it. It was great.
Yeah, the original's great. The remake's not bad. You've got enough talented people to kind of get around the incredibly bland script. I mean, the cast for the Italian Job remake, for those of you who either haven't seen it or don't remember off the top of your head, you have the wooden plank that is Miles Teller. I mean, Mark Wahlberg. He's still a wooden plank. Charlize Theron, Edward Norton, Jason Statham, Seth Green, Mos Def. Those are all very, very engaging actors. So you've got a bunch of people on screen whose very presence and abilities are going to help draw you in. So it does, again, make up for the somewhat weak writing that went into that.
So this is being executive produced and written by Matt Wheeler of Hawaii Five-0, I'm assuming the current one. The Man Who Fell to Earth, starring Oscar nominee and BAFTA winner Chiwetel Ejiofor. I think I got that right. Based on the Walter what's his nuts from Doctor Strange. That isn't Doctor Strange. Walter Tevis.
Mads Mikkelsen?
No.
There's a lot of look.
The villain from Doctor. No, not the villain from Doctor Strange. The black dude from Doctor Strange.
Look, that's a joke at the expense of Doctor Strange because the three main characters in that movie are played by Benedict Cumberbatch, Mads Mikkelsen, and Chiwetel Ejiofor. That's a lot of name to go through.
Yeah, him. Is based on the Walter Tevis novel of the same name and the iconic film starring David Bowie. The series will follow a new alien character who arrives on Earth at a turning point in human evolution and must confront his own past to determine our future. The Offer, a scripted limited event series for Paramount Television based on Oscar-winning producer Al Ruddy's extraordinary, never-revealed experiences of making The Godfather.
You know, that one, I'd much rather see a documentary than a dramatization about that, to be perfectly honest.
Mm-hmm.
But, okay, maybe. So we got one. One maybe.
The Parallax View, not associated with the Green Lantern comics. A scripted series from Paramount Television Studios based on the iconic film. The series will be executive produced by Paula Wagner. Okay?
So you've got nothing.
Yeah.
Hey, we've got an idea and someone who thinks they want to pour money into it. Great. You have nothing else.
Y 1883, which I believe is the Yellowstone prequel. Sure. Okay, and then a Yellowstone spin-off.
Yellowstone on its own is actually pretty good. I don't care a whole lot about a prequel, and I care less about a spin-off.
All right. Moving on to Kids and Family. Avatar is getting its own cinematic universe that'll exist on Paramount Plus.
This is what happens when something is really good. Avatar is a great series. A genuinely great series. So what happens when you have a great series that is self-contained, has a clear beginning, middle, and end, and ends on essentially the perfect note? Do you know what happens, Mark?
What?
First, we get a sequel that no one really asked for, and isn't nearly as good. Then, because this is the world we live in now, we get the expanded universe of Avatar.
Yep.
Ugh. Just ugh.
So a couple of years ago, I took my kids to go see the live-action Dora the Explorer.
I assume that was a mistake.
It was fine, you know. It was like a very kiddie, watered-down, Hispanic girl version of Indiana Jones, which is what I thought it was going to be.
You know my favorite reaction to people when they saw the trailer?
What?
Okay, first of all, this is a father. So he's like, I watched, my kid makes me watch Dora on occasion, right? So I watched Dora, it's something we do together. He sees teenage Dora and goes, nope, I can't deal with Dora with boobs.
Well, she's getting a live-action series based on the iconic character designed for an older audience of 6 to 11 and their families. Terrific.
Iconic. Put that in heavy air.
iCarly, a new chapter for the most successful kid sitcom of all time, where the original cast members of Miranda Cosgrove, Nathan Kress, and Jerry Trainor join new friends for a look at these characters' present-day lives, adventures, and comedic mishaps.
For crying out loud, they're all in their 30s now.
There's a new SpongeBob, Cam Corral, for SpongeBob's early years. Yes, we're getting a prequel to SpongeBob SquarePants.
Okay, again, I can't stress this enough. All they're doing is crappy spin-offs, reboots, retoolings, and reimaginings that no one wants. This killed broadcast television, basically. It darn near killed the film industry and might still kill it now. And yet, here we are.
Rugrats! Speaking of which.
Oh, I love Rugrats. Right? You're older than I am, but you had to remember the original run of the Rugrats.
I didn't watch it. I knew it existed. I had outgrown the target audience for that.
I mean, I forget how old I was when that, I wasn't quite 10, but I wasn't, 5. It was somewhere in that range. And, I love, the Rugrats are great. They're great rewatches now.
If you're 9, that would have put me at 16. I wasn't watching the fucking Rugrats.
Okay, fair enough. Well, especially with the sensibilities of the 90s teenager. Sure, fair enough.
Yeah. But that's getting an all-new series featuring Nick's iconic babies with the original voice cast and new CG animation, and they've actually released stills from that. Have you seen them?
I have not.
Oh, Google it. Google it while I read the next one.
All right, hang on. So, what would it be? Rugrats CGI?
Yeah, Rugrats First Look.
Oh, God. I might have seen these now that I think about it. All right. Oh, it hurts me.
You know what's funny? Like, I think they're doing. They announced today they're doing a new Transformers and a new My Little Pony as well on Netflix. That the My Little Pony movie is going straight to Netflix, and then that's being followed up by a series. But I think they showed a still from that series that's forthcoming on Netflix, and that's also CG.
I don't care about My Little Pony.
Right, but people do. And my point is more of the trend in animation.
Let me say this. I think the animation style that went into the most recent My Little Pony you could probably convert that to CGI fairly easily and not lose a whole lot, as long as the rest of it doesn't look like garbage. This just kind of hurts my soul.
Star Trek Prodigy.
Again, Star Trek is a dead IP.
The first ever Star Trek for kids and family audiences. Oh boy.
Dead IP.
Maybe I can get my son to watch that.
Nope. You and I both know you can't.
The Fairly Odd Parents live-action take on one of Nick's longest-running and most successful animated hits.
Terrible idea. The entire reality of that show, what makes it work, is the absurdity that you can achieve only via animation. Live acting that seems like a bad idea. They already tried that with a movie that I don't think did very well.
They're doing a live action on the CW iteration of the Powerpuff Girls. Apparently, all bets are off, and they're going to try anything with anything.
But no, the live action Powerpuff Girls sets them in their early 20s, and now they hate the fact that a man made them fight crime as kids because Me Too.
Please, let's review that.
No.
Every episode. I think we need to do an after show for that.
I don't want to tell you what I'll do. I don't wish to be in legal trouble.
Moving on. Reality, unscripted.
You do not have enough money or goodwill to potentially entice me to do that.
It's fine. I'll get Alexis to do it. Big Brother live feeds, dating naked. Wait, I have to read what dating naked is. The most vulnerable social experiment returns to bring dating back to its most honest, unguarded, and naked form. Can these modern daters strip back their preconceived notions, carefully curated images, and their clothes to reveal their true selves and find love. This sounds gross. Let's move on. Ink Master, Love Island on Paramount Plus, Queen of the Universe, Road Rules, RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars.
Okay, for the record, if you're into tattooing, Ink Master is usually a pretty good show. The rest of this sounds awful.
The Challenge All-Stars, The Real World Homecoming New York. My wife found out about this and is insisting on watching it.
I would divorce her.
The kids aren't old enough yet. I gotta wait till they turn 18.
This will be your cause for divorce. Like 10 plus, it'll be what, another 9 years? You've started the countdown now?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a ticking clock in our kitchen, like the budget, not the budget, the national debt in New York City. Comedy. We're getting a Frasier reboot, or I think it's a continuation, like Mad About You was on Spectrum.
You know, I could actually be down for that. There was enough room still with Frasier to tell stories. Sad that we'll be losing Martin because I believe the actor died.
Mm-hmm.
And he was just one of the best things about that show. But I'd potentially be interested in a Frasier reboot. Yeah.
This one I'm excited for, like legit excited. Have been planning podcast in my head based around this, and am just trying to find the unfortunate soul, I mean lucky person, to do this with me.
Oh, you were right the first time.
Grease, The Rise of the Pink Ladies. Both.
I want you all to understand this. Okay, you all listening. We have a group chat for network announcements. When that first got announced, 8 months ago?
Yeah.
When they kind of said, hey, we might be doing a Grease show.
When it was called Rydell High.
Mark plotzed and immediately said, I must talk about this. Who's with me? He was not... Look, a lot of the times when Mark says, hey, how about X, he's met with crickets. This is a running gag. He was not met with crickets when he said, hey, Grease. He was met with a resounding chorus of go F yourself by everyone. So for the last 8 months, he's been going, hey, Grease. Grease show? Anybody? Anybody got Grease? Grease? I got you Grease right here. Come on, somebody talk with me about Grease.
Come on, man. Grease is the word.
And I am occasionally tempted to just respond with various gifs of The Simpsons when Homer tries to get people to invest in Grease.
So, with both classic and new songs and a diverse cast, oh boy, the series is a prequel to the unforgettable musical film Grease and tells the story of how Frenchie's older sister Jane, Frenchie's older sister Jane founded the Pink Ladies. The series from Paramount Television Studios is executive produced by Annabelle Oakes of Atypical and Transparent, Marty Bowen of Twilight, and Eric Faye of La La Land. Oh my god, I'm now more excited than ever to do this.
Look, you've gone around the bend. There's some part of you now that is screaming in horror. But the rest of you has bought into the sunk cost fallacy that I've spent so much time trying to hype this up. I can't go back. I can't admit that I'm wrong.
Yep, I'm committed.
Look, you will talk about that by yourself, sir.
I will find somebody.
One.
I will make promises and deals.
See my previous statement. You don't have enough money. Actually, I shouldn't say you don't have enough money. You give me $50 and I'll do that with you.
Terrific. Guilty Party, a dark comedy starring Kate Beckinsale as a discredited journalist who finds herself in over her head when she latches onto a story of a young mother sentenced to life in jail for murdering her husband, a crime she claims she didn't commit. Moving on. Inside Amy Schumer is back.
Oof.
Yep.
Oof.
More Reno 911 is coming. The hunt for QAnon. The Game, the popular BET sitcom, returns. Moving on. The Harper House, an animated family comedy that follows an overconfident female head of a household as she struggles to regain a higher status for herself and her family of oddballs.
which she will accomplish in the first 5 episodes because she is a strong, independent woman who can never possibly be on the back foot. We already know how this ends. Moving on.
Yeah, didn't we do this already? It was called Grace Under Fire. The Weekly Show with Trevor Noah. Trevor Noah will star in and produce an initial 6-episode series looking at stories across the societal landscape and talk with the people behind the headlines. People you know, people you don't know, people you didn't know, blah, 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 blah. Okay, whatever.
Trevor Noah is just the worst.
Yeah, him and his cronies over there drove me away from The Daily Show, which, whatever. Younger. Darren Star's critically acclaimed smash hit Younger follows Liza Miller, a talented editor navigating the highly competitive world of publishing. Oh, who cares? Untitled Beavis and Butthead movie. Yoo! Now we're talking.
I wasn't joking before when I said we're trying to desperately reboot some IP that people with disposable income might potentially have some nostalgia for. Beavis and Butthead is one of the quintessential examples of a product of its time. It existed for a brief period in time. It spoke to a brief period of development of that generation. It's dead. It doesn't have anything left to say. Let it die. You want to say something about the current generation in a similar fashion, create your own characters. Quit trying to leverage stuff that shouldn't continue to exist.
Workaholics movie. All right, music for the people. So they're doing Behind the Music. I used to love Behind the Music. I actually, enough time has passed. There's plenty of stories to tell. I don't mind this at all. From Cradle to Stage, a new 6-part unscripted television series from Dave Grohl, inspired by his mother. I don't give a shit. Let's move on. Unplugged. Again, I used to enjoy the Unplugged series, depending on which bands it were. I enjoyed Nirvana when they did it. I enjoyed Stone Temple Pilots, Scott Weiland in his rocking chair. The very famous 10,000 Maniacs performance, which I think is the only thing anyone ever knows by 10,000 Maniacs anymore. All that was unplugged, and all that was great, and I'm a sucker for live music, so I'm fine with that one. This one is the one I'm excited about, and I feel like me and Jesse need to do after shows for. Yo MTV Raps. Yeah! Moving on. CBS All Access originals to continue as Paramount Plus originals. No Activity, Star Trek Discovery, Star Trek Lower Decks, Star Trek Picard, Stephen Colbert's presenting Tuning Out the News, The Good Fight, Why Women Kill. And sports.
That all just sounds terrible, for the record.
The NFL on CBS, Inside the NFL, The Masters, for all you golf fanatics, NCAA Division Men's Basketball, PGA Tour of the SEC on CBS, the PGA Championship, National Women's Soccer League, UEFA Champions League, Europa League, Europa Conference League. I don't know what any of that is. Something called CONCACAF, CONCACAF, offering more than 200 CONCACAF matches, starting with... Moving on. If you care, look it up.
Hang on. CONCACAF.
CONCACAF.
CONCAC.
It seems to be some sort of soccer.
Yeah, it is soccer.
Yeah. More soccer and more soccer. Great. News, 60 Minutes Plus, 48 hours original, The Lie Detector. Documentaries, 76 Days, a look at the earliest days of the COVID-19 crisis in China. Terrific. Black Gold. Darren Aronofsky's Protozoa and Emmy-winning Time Studios. This is the true-life conspiracy thriller about a decades-long campaign to trade our planet for profit. Ugh.
Wow.
God. For heaven's sake, blends comedy and crime documentary formats for a unique take on uncovering the truth. Ooh. This series follows the search for Harold Heaven, who mysteriously disappeared from his remote cabin in Ontario, Canada, in the winter of 1934. The Real Criminal Minds. Watergate. From MTV Entertainment Studios, the series will illuminate a moment in our history that parallels so much of what's happening now. Ugh.
Oh, get bent.
Jesus Christ, did you fire straight from the Communist Party into Viacom? God damn. Sir Alex Ferguson.
Hey, Watergate speaks to something that's going on now. Watergate was a scandal because people were stupid. This has been said before. Nixon didn't really do anything that anyone else hadn't done before him. He just got caught.
Sir Alex Ferguson, Never Give In, Stories from the Beautiful Game, and Instadocs. All right, so that wraps up all the offerings from Paramount Plus. Also, when it debuts on March 5th, the SpongeBob movie with Keanu Reeves never actually got a U.S. distribution. So, like, if you stole it or if you watched it in another country, you've probably already seen it. But it never got a theatrical release here, and it never got released to a streaming service. It will debut on Paramount Plus on March 5th. So, there's that. Oh, boy. The other big news item, and we're going to wrap with this, the other big news item of yesterday was that the Disney released their television spring release schedule. And it's not nearly as lengthy. They released a couple of trailers. Here's the whole list in totem. March 19th, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, 6 episodes. The Mighty Ducks, Game Changers, March 26th. April 16th, Big Shot, which is, believe it or not based on a previous IP. It's just a new story. I know, that's strange.
Is it?
Hang on. You know what? Now I looked this up because I saw John Stamos and I was wondering if Pat would want to do it. Let's see. What is?
I feel like this is going to be a retread of that crappy Paul Giamatti and Frankie Muniz movie.
Okay, so Big Shot is an upcoming American sports dramedy stream television series developed by Dean Lorey and David E. Kelley, based on an original idea by Brad Garrett for Disney Plus, starring John Stamos. The series follows a temperamental basketball coach who is fired from his current job and ends up in an elite girls' private school. Okay, never mind. No thanks. And I can't.
Yeah, sure. Look, Pat'll love to talk about that. It's John Stamos around teenage girls. What could go wrong?
Well, good. He can volunteer. Then I'm not asking.
Oh, you just lost all interest? Poor Mark.
May 4th, Star Wars: The Bad Batch. Which is a spin-off of The Clone Wars. May 14th, High School Musical, the series, Season 2. My daughter will be happy about that.
Good for her.
June 11th, Loki, 6 episodes. June 11th, Zenimation, Season 2. June 25th, The Mysterious Benedict Society, which is based on, I think, a series of books. July 2nd, Monsters at Work, which spins out of Monsters Incorporated. A Turner and Hooch series on July 16th, and a new cartoon series, series of shorts starring Chippendale called Chippendale Park Life on July 23rd.
Look, if you want to do something with Chippendale, I just would like Rescue Rangers back. Is that too much to ask?
You might be getting that.
Well, I think they're on. I think the old shows are on Disney Plus at this point.
Mm-hmm. There's a show. There's something called from 2007. I don't know if you've heard about this. The Secret of the Magic Gourd.
I am not aware of that.
I'm now fascinated and need to talk about it. All right.
Magic Gourd.
So that's it. That's what's coming up in the near for the next couple of months on Disney Plus, among other things. They did say that, and I did want to talk about this somewhat. It's looking like all the May releases are holding their dates. The next big, other than Tom and Jerry, the next big like blockbuster release is Godzilla vs. Kong, and that's March 31st. There is nothing in the month of April, nothing at all. Like, I think there are literally like 2 movies coming out in the month of April.
This is again why I kind of lobbied for. Okay, look, when we get to some of these stretches, we need to keep the show going.
Yeah. And we will. We've got stuff. Yeah, like,
but,
a lot of
like
VOD.
For all of you fans of Damn You Hollywood, thank you very much. We will have content for you in the month of April.
Yeah. Well, okay, so I said nothing. Let me walk that back just a smidgen. Mortal Kombat, 1 movie. 1.
I was not as impressed with that trailer as other people were. Some people, like, just splooged all over themselves, and I kind of went, eh.
So, yeah, April, right now, if you look at the wiki for American film in 2021, which tends to list also the stuff that's streaming, and one of them is an example of that, there's only 3 movies listed for April. Mortal Kombat and Fatherhood, which both come out on April 16th. And then Without Remorse, which is the Michael B. Jordan movie. Without Remorse is a spin-off of the Jack Ryan film series. It's an adaptation of a Tom Clancy. I couldn't remember the author's name. It's an adaptation of a Tom Clancy novel. Anyway, that's it.
I can't wait for that to fall flat on its face.
So where I was going with this. So March is, got some stuff going on. Not a tremendous amount, but the big thing as far as in theater releases go, even a split one, would be Godzilla vs. Kong. Everything else is just kind of there. Once you get past March 5th. March 5th is Rey and the Last Dragon, Coming to American, Chaos Walking, Boss Level, and Boogie. And of all of those, the only one getting a purely theatrical release is Chaos Walking. Boogie might be, but I'm sure that no one's going to go see that. In any case, then there's not a lot of anything, or it's all streaming. And then you get to Godzilla vs. Kong, and then, like I said, and then about a couple of weeks later is Mortal Kombat. Without Remorse, it goes straight to Amazon. And all of this to say the following. They wiped more or less the slate clean all the way up to May. And then there was a question of, will the May dates hold? And so far, Black Widow, Free Guy, Spiral, F9, and Cruella, and Infinite, all May releases over the course of the month of May, all still holding their dates. Kevin Feige specifically said of Black Widow, they have no intentions to do a Disney Plus split release, a premiere release like they're doing with Rey and the Last Dragon.
There has to be something in the contract about that requires a theatrical release for that movie. That's the only explanation. I
don't know. Either way, there's talk they might delay it till July. It's hard to read the tea leaves right now. New York theaters are opening in March, but at limited capacity. I don't know about Los Angeles just yet. I think those are on their way to opening, but not quite
Los
yet.
Los Angeles, California might be going into another lockdown. Apparently, they have there's a new mutation for COVID that's in California that is slightly more deadly than the baseline one.
Okay, so California looks like it's hopeless.
It has for many years.
The point being, right now the May dates are holding. If they were going to move, they probably would have moved by now, though, they could be moving as I'm saying that. Who the hell knows? We could put this out, and 5 minutes later, everything fucking moves again. But right now, Disney and Universal, the big ones for the month of May, are all holding their dates. And it looks like from May on, we'll get a pretty steady release of features again in the theaters, assuming the world doesn't fall apart again. And with that said, let's do our review of the critics.
Are you ready? No! I said, are you ready?
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
This review of the critics is brought to you by Grammarly. Grammarly's AI-powered products help people communicate more effectively. Grammarly helps you write mistake-free on Gmail, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and nearly anywhere else you write on the web. Grammarly corrects hundreds of grammar, punctuation, and spelling mistakes while also catching contextual errors, improving your vocabulary, and suggesting style improvements. You can even, Robert Winfree, use Grammarly to help you with all of your coverage. When you do SmackDown or MLW or the 97 UFC events per month, you can use Grammarly to make sure that you don't have punctuation and spelling mistakes. Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah. Hang on. I'm trying to figure out the right way to say it, because I already made the joke about my writing being so bad the AI would look at it and kill itself.
Uh-huh. What else you got in the bag?
I don't know. If it's not self-deprecating, I kind of struggle.
Terrific.
It's a good service. You should all consider it. We have a link, and they're willing to give you good, fine listeners of our particular programs a special discount.
Yes, sir. For you listeners of Damn You Hollywood and all the great podcasts on the Radulich Broadcasting Network, brought to you by the W2M Network, Grammarly is offering a free download of the Grammarly software. So go to getgrammarly.com/W2M Network. Again, that's getgrammarly.com. W2M network to download Grammarly for free. All right, our first review.
Okay, hang on. I need first crack. Okay.
Okay then.
I found someone who I have to yell at.
Okay.
So we have Owen Gleiberman writing for Variety.
Oh no.
Who positively compared the director, Jay Blakeson, to Alfred Hitchcock.
Yeah, he did. That's on the wiki.
This is asinine on so many levels. Hitchcock knew how to spin up tension, how to have a shot rest. This movie does none of that. I mean, when the movie finally gets around to staging an action sequence, it's a doozy because he takes his time and has you hanging on every moment. I was looking at my watch. Like, no, there's no reason to compare this film in particular with the works of Hitchcock. You are desperately trying to make up for your editorial staff's utter failure to catch a stupid line in a previous review. Now you're trying to re-ingratiate yourselves. This is pathetic. That is beyond pathetic. Here, movie starring a woman. I will make horrible comparisons in the positive direction because I can't say anything negative anymore after Jobber McGee up there decided that Carey Mulligan was not attractive enough to sexually harass.
Lana Stanzak of Film Inquiry. Pike's undeniably compelling performance, the excellent supporting characters, and writer-director Jay Blakeson's takedown of capitalism and exploitation of elderly makes for an incredibly unique American crime story.
Hang on. I take issue with that. This is not a crime story. All right? Just straight up. Look, it's not that there is not crime being used within the story. There very manifestly is. That doesn't make it a crime story. This is not a crime story. It's really, I just don't think it is. It's really not. Also, that was not one of our large complaints about this movie, how unengaging Rosamund Pike's portrayal is.
Yeah.
Like, she is not positioned, again, either through acting or direction or writing. So either through her fault or Blakeson, who did both the writing and directing, she is not positioned to enthrall an audience the way this kind of story needs from its lead.
Jake Wilson, The Age, from Australia, top critic, Red Star. As a tricky tonal balancing act with Pike's performance at the center, the bulk of the film succeeds almost better than you could hope.
No, again, this fails in its balancing act. If this is supposed to be a black comedy, there's not really a lot of dark humor.
Frank
cynicism does a story that is cynical is not a dark comedy by default, people.
Frank Svolitek of One Guy's Opinion. There's enough that's daring and provocative in the film to make it worth watching. What was provocative about this?
What in the world about this is daring? What grand tradition of cinema or narrative structure are we challenging here?
Okay, here's what he says about that. Precisely because it will make you uncomfortable.
No! What about... I'm sorry. If you're... Okay, so his entire premise arguing that point is something that makes you uncomfortable is daring, when a giant portion of the entire argument about the existence of art is stuff that makes you uncomfortable, so everything's daring? You pointless dickhead. What the hell? That's not an appropriate argument. If you want to say a movie is daring, you can't just say, well, it shines an uncomfortable light on something. No, that's not daring. That's part and parcel to what you're supposed to be doing, depending on your definition of artist. You should be doing that. It's not daring. Nothing about this movie is daring. I'm telling you, you just threw Michael Clayton and Wolf of Wall Street together. This is what comes out of it. It's not interesting. It's not unique. It's not daring in any way, unless you're still somehow laboring under the misconception that a female lead in this kind of role is a daring choice. Bullshit.
Edwin Arnaudin, of Asheville movies, powered by a well-oiled plot that discourages... No! Wait, this gets better. Powered by a well-oiled plot that discourages the need or desire to learn more about more than the basic details of its surface-level characters.
Absolutely not!
Wow, what a, let me just forgive the shitty writing here comment.
That's one of the biggest problems with this. You can tell the serious critics about this movie because they all say the writing's weak, but the performances are good. But no, this guy. No, the plot is so good. No!
Okay, this guy is desperately, he is hanging out on a Broadway street corner with his pants down and a sign high in the air that says, "Pay attention to me."
Okay.
Matt Oakes of Silver Screen Riot. When Blakeson's lampoon of carnivorous capitalism sinks its teeth in deep and his performers rain fire and brimstone upon each other, I Care a Lot's fiendish joys are simply irresistible.
Okay, at what point does any of the performances in this rain fire and brimstone?
Yeah.
No.
I'm going to kill you. Okay.
They're bland. In some cases intentionally so, and kudos for that, I guess. But no. There is no fiery dialogue. There is no great scene of rhetoric. None of that. None of that happens in this movie. Not a one.
Alan Adams of The Main Edge.
Oh, he's so edgy.
It can be tricky embracing a story in which almost everybody is a legitimately bad person. Thanks to the tremendous talent of the cast, we can engage with these characters even as we wish them the worst. And that, friends,
absolutely not.
And that, friends, is one successful dark comedy.
What do you people think a dark comedy is? I really want to know what... Okay, one of my favorite examples of a dark comedy. It's a Robin Williams movie that didn't do especially well. It's called Father of the Year. That's a dark comedy. Feel free to look it up. Or another Williams piece, also starring Edward Norton, Death to Snooki. The art of the dark comedy has been lost. Now, for some reason, these people think that anything that's overly cynical is a dark comedy. I don't understand how you're categorizing this, you strange humans. Also, yes, it can in fact be tricky trying to write a story where everyone is a bag of shit. Point in fact how poorly written this movie is.
Natasha Alvar of Cultured Vultures. Rosamund Pike's performance in I Care a Lot is ice cold, villainous perfection. And while the film is a tad uneven in execution, Pike's Marla Grayson will command your attention till the end, even when you would rather look away.
Not really. If you're talking about a commanding performance, it is one that, as said, you can't really look away from. I manifestly did and wished and wanted to more. It's so much of this movie is her having a blank face. Not even a I almost feel like not even a deliberately blank face. Hey, I'm going to kill you. This is your mother. I'll kill her. Go ahead, kill the sociopath. I don't care. Fine, my people are tearing apart your house right now. Sure hope your girlfriend isn't home. That could get messy. I'll get another one.
Mark Burrows of Hey You Guys. Ugh.
Hey You Guys.
Stylish and scabrous with brilliant performances, though you might hate yourself for quite how much you enjoy it.
Okay, I really have to know what's going on with these people that they're this engrossed by this particular story. How pathetic has your cinema viewing experience been that you consider this engrossing? Really? Are you just lacking in depth of experience when it comes to the great films that tackle similar subject material? Because if this is the first movie you ever saw, sure, it's great. But, come on, man.
Sarah Cartland of Caution Spoilers. Is everyone able to get on Rotten Tomatoes? No, I haven't even heard of half of these. I don't think I've read one from a traditional publication at all, or even one that we've done before. Pike is mesmerizing. While every character is horrible, which makes this an enjoyably risk-free watch, I only rooted for someone if it looked like they were about to die.
Why do you consider that a good thing?
Why do you consider that a review?
That too. How is that a discussion of film craft?
I mean, Pike is memorizing. All right, off to a decent start. Every character is horrible. Also true. And then this whole like sentence that she's writing just goes off the rail.
So it becomes a risk-free. How is that risk-free? What, are you just so terrified that because you might identify with a character who turns out to be crappy that this somehow reflects on you? I can't possibly root for Michael Corleone. He's a bad guy. The entire point is a universal comment on human experience and how the darkness lurks in all of us. If the only way you can personally enjoy a story that comments on that is if you can go, I see none of myself in these characters. Look at my virtue and behold its glory, then get on your knees and suck it. You're a terrible, terrible critic.
Mark Kermode of The Observer, top critic. We've done him before. Because I remember because of the Kermode jokes.
I had to make a joke about his last name, and I'm sure he's heard all of them before.
A gleefully vicious affair carried by Pike, who wears a smile that could strip wallpaper at 40 paces, and whose vape smoke evokes a dragon preparing to burn the world down. Oh, you an out-of-work screenwriter. Oh, boy.
Yeah. Boy, could you make that more purple? Just a little bit more purple in your prose there? Just a touch?
Once again, I made this joke when we talked about Judas and the Black Messiah. That's a guy writing on a wooden writing desk in inkwell with a feather pen.
Yeah, just no.
Let's see here.
Yeah, that is someone desperate to be writing creatively, but isn't good enough to make it work. So I review film now, which I'll take over your hackneyed political blogs masquerading as film critique.
CBR. Cynthia Vinny of CBR. While the clever script lays the groundwork without the shimmering performances of the ace cast, I Care a Lot would be a lot less watchable. Rosamund Pike sporting a slick bob and a series of sophisticated dresses is delicious as Marla.
Okay, so you're praising the hairstyle and the costuming, and you think that's enough to make the character interesting? Like, come on.
John Serber of Decider. Come for the Pike Dinklage Battle Royale. Stay for the bitter satirical comedy.
This isn't... What about this is comedic? Look, the satire I'll give you. The satirization of unfettered capitalism, which despite me being a capitalist at heart, I freely acknowledge that letting it run rampant into cronyism is a terrible, terrible idea. I'll give you a little bit of the satire, but there's not really any comedy here. What are you people laughing at? Elder abuse? Because that says more about you than it does about the movie.
Charlotte O'Sullivan of the London Evening Standard, top critic. If you're in the mood for bracing nihilism, welcome to one of the most savage films of the year.
Okay, your viewing experience is sadly lacking. You think this is nihilistic? Buddy, I just sat through 13 hours of Too Old to Die Young. If you want nihilism, let me introduce you to Mr. Refn's work. Whoa.
Terry White of Empire Magazine, top critic. A pitch-black, punchy satire on capitalism and care homes with lip-smacking performances from Rosamund Pike and Peter Dinklage.
Sure. I mean, I disagree with some of his particular qualifiers about how good it is, but that is an accurate summation of a few points. Good for you. You trained monkey.
We'll start winding down here. Justin Chang of the Los Angeles Times, top critic. It belatedly tries to grow a heart in its closing scenes, tossing off its snarky, self-satisfied cynicism and making a half-hearted lurch towards catharsis. It wants you to care more than it cares to admit.
That's actually not... okay, I disagree with his premise that the last act is an attempt at, hey, she gets everything she wants. Isn't that great? Now she can be a good person. No.
Someone needs to buy the San Jose Mercury News and shut it down, because this is not the first time I've read something that made me hate an entire newspaper. Holy Christ. Randy Myers, top critic. I care a lot, coils and strikes like a snake as it slithers toward a shocking finale. What editor let that go? Why?
Yeah. Who thought that was a good idea? Shame on you for writing that.
Christ.
Shame on the editor for letting it slide. And shame on whoever decided that was going to be your little stinger for your review. Just shame all the way around.
Good God. As we continue to look through our frustrated art house writers...
Boy, ain't that the truth.
Jeanette Katsulis of the New York Times, top critic. Like, I'm skipping a lot of these. It's like, Bob's Sandwich website. I can't deal with these people anymore. They actually write some of the worst stuff, but these people write for, like, traditional papers and still can't come up with a good review. So I think these make for better picks. Jeanette Katsulis of the New York Times, top critic. With its ice-pick dialogue and gleefully ironic title, I Care a Lot is slick, savage caper with roots in real-world scam.
Okay, I really do have to stress again, there's no caper. You people have never seen a legitimate crime drama in your life if you think this is what qualifies as one of them. Just shame on you for that.
Peter Hammond of Deadline. Working with a game cast, Blakeson lets this den of thieves loose on delicious complex plotting and a tangled web of deceit involving control, authority, profit, bureaucracy, and pure naked ambition that all collide in wittily amusing ways. Tangled web of conceit? But
look, that's him talking about his review. You pretentious douchebag. I will do one more of these, and then we'll call it a day. Here, we'll end with the second future ex Mrs. Winfree, Perry Nemiroff, formerly of Screen Junkie, now of Perry Nemiroff YouTube, because everyone gets to be on Rotten Tomatoes. Top critic. A slick thrill with an undeniable mean streak that's too magnetizing to look away. Rosamund, this is misspelled. It's spelled Romand. Rosamund Pike is fiery, ruthless, and pitch perfect as Marla Grayson. If you can't even go through enough effort to spell the lead actress's name right, I refuse to take you seriously as anything other than a desperate clout-chasing hack.
That's what she is. Look, last one. This is the actual last one. Only so I can just read the name of the site she's from, or publication, or whatever. Nicola Austin of We Have a Hulk. There's something called We Have a Hulk.
Of course there is. Why wouldn't there be?
What is We Have... Okay, so this is a UK site. So it's wehaveahulk.co.uk, TV, film, and comic book community. Oh boy. Nicola Austin is the editor-in-chief of WHAH, W-H-A-H, alongside her day job in digital marketing, as well as writing for the site and podcasting. She is also a contributor to the fantastic Jump Cut Online.
All right. You going to read a review at some point?
I'm getting there. Featuring a career best performance from Pike, coupled with a truly unpredictable narrative.
That is manifestly untrue to say this is the best performance of Rosamund Pike's career. That is just objectively false. She is so much better in Gone Girl than she is here. It's not even funny. That is a ridiculous claim.
With a truly unpredictable narrative, it's easy to see why I Care a Lot receives such a lot of festival buzz. Not for nothing, and I hate to be like this cynical and sound all insully, but we are in a stage of film and television right now where the strong woman lead is king, and some of that produces good stuff and it's worth watching, and some of it doesn't. But
true.
You can't.
It's a mixed bag, but
yeah.
For some reason, if you happen to say that it's a mixed bag and some of it isn't good, you are incorrectly labeled. You're accused of hate speech. or
Right.
some nonsense.
So the amount of cheerleading going on for... Here's my problem. If there was a cottage industry of female lead-driven, strong character pieces, and the community, the film community was cheerleading that, I could at least defend it, on the merits of, hey, there's a voice over here that is hardly ever heard, and we want to make sure it gets heard. And I'm like, okay, that's at least one reason to cheerlead it. When it's everything, everywhere, all the time, constantly, you don't need to be cheerleading this anymore. You can take a critical assessment of something and go, well, this particular project with the strong female lead's not great. That's okay. It's okay when everything is strong female leads to say some of it's not good.
Because some of it isn't going to be good. You are never going to get. Nothing is 100% in that respect. Nothing.
On the other hand, there's Jordan Rolme of World of Real. All hail Rosamund Pike. I'm done. I'm out. I quit.
All right, you miserable simp. Which is not a word I like to throw around because I think it's stupid, derogatory, lax. It's stupid, unnecessarily derogatory, too broadly applied, and lacks a cohesive definition. But if the sum total of your review is, please look at me, I promise I'm a good guy. No. You sad, pathetic excuse for a film critic. How dare you attach yourself to this profession? That is beyond... It is beyond pathetic.
Yeah. All right. So, what are we doing? Tonight, Pat and I are talking Lennox Lewis.
Can you at least pronounce his first name correctly, then?
How am I not pronouncing Lennox right?
It's Lennox.
Lennox Lewis.
Have you ever heard him say it?
Lennox, the ox that rocks.
I mean, look, he to be fair, he doesn't object to people saying Lennox, but if you ask him, the emphasis is different.
Terrific. Next week, we've got all kinds of stuff loaded up for you, a lot of it revolving around the Tom and Jerry movie. So, source material, we've got the Rough and Ready show, which is yet another one of those Hanna-Barbera modernization-type comics like they did with Flintstones by Mark Millar and Snagglepuss, where he's a gay...
You put a gun to Ronnie Adams' head and said, review this Tom and Jerry thing.
No, I asked Chris Sheehan to do the Rough and Ready show.
It's just like Snagglepuss or Huckleberry Hound. I was so gay, but I couldn't tell anybody. That is one of my favorite Simpsons gags ever. That's from their Behind the Laughter episode. Their spin on Behind the Music.
Right.
Next time on Behind the Laughter, Huckleberry Hound, and here's Huckleberry Hound. I was so gay. I couldn't tell anybody.
He hangs himself, I believe, in the Snagglepuss comic.
Who, Huckleberry Hound?
Yes.
He also fights for social justice by beating a fascist racist cop over the head with his comedy album in that stupid Huckleberry Hound Green Lantern crossover you tried to sell me on once.
Oh yeah, that was great, wasn't it?
The healing power of dude, even you admitted how crap that was by the end of that. You put on your best salesman hat and said, Robert Winfree, imagine, if you will, something like The Wire, set in the racial tensions of Detroit, where a lone hound and a Green Lantern try to fight. And I just said, that all sounds terrible. And you went, yeah, I got nothing.
So we'll be doing Damn You Hollywood again Tuesday night. We'll be reviewing the Tom and Jerry movie, and Jesse will be on Wednesday to discuss Epica, Omega. Robert Winfree and David Wright review the TNG movies, Insurrection, First Contact, Generations, etc. On Friday...
I like how you just did the worst one. Good for you.
On Friday, we've got a double shot of Damn You Hollywood. First, me and Robert Winfree will be doing Boss Level, starring Frank Grillo. That's going straight to Hulu, I believe. And then myself and Jason Teasley will be doing a special Damn You Hollywood for Coming to America, the sequel to Coming to America, which is debuting exclusively on Amazon Prime. And then Saturday, we're doing another alternative commentary, this time for the 1992 animated Tom and Jerry movie where they speak, they fly now, they fly now. You can check out our reviews of The Elimination Chamber, Only God Forgives, On Trial.
I haven't heard you're on trial for Only God Forgives.
Mm-hmm.
Correct me if it's been a while since I've seen it, but I seem to recall from. I think I posted this on your Facebook thing about it. This movie is the final nail in the coffin of the idea that Ryan Gosling could be a tough guy.
We compared, and I have to give credit to Sean for this. He compared the fight in Only God Forgives to Anderson Silva versus Forrest Griffin.
Yeah, but somehow much less engaging.
We reviewed Too Old to Die Young for 3 hours, and then
Look,
myself. And
that show is a 13-hour piece of art. Whether you think that's good or bad is up to you. That needed time to talk. We needed time to discuss that one.
Yeah, that and for Jesse, it was a 3-hour therapy session. And then
should you be charging him $600?
Jesus Christ, $600? Are you crazy?
3 hours of therapy?
It's usually like $75 per hour.
Okay, you've been getting some bad therapy.
No, social workers are significantly cheaper than like doctors. Anyway, if you're going to like a psychiatrist, yeah, sure, it's that much an hour. Anyway, moving on. Scene of the Crime by Ed Brubaker. We talked about it on Source Material Live. Myself and Christine actually really liked the book and sang its praises, so go ahead and check that out. And that's it. Go ahead and do your plugs. Let's get out of here.
All right. If you've suffered through it with us for this long, we thank you very much. Please remember to use our links for Amazon Music and Grammarly to help support us. I cover MMA in the MMA Zone of 411 Mania most Saturdays, so you can find my full report from last week's card. This coming week's card I'll be there for. I cover professional wrestling on Wednesdays and Fridays. Wednesdays I cover whatever MLW's doing. This week was a re-air of their old Underground television show, and boy did this one suck. Yeah, just not good. Fridays I cover WWE SmackDown and am slowly killing all interest in the product because I am just... That's me, man. I will... Hire me, I will kill interest in your product. That's just my gimmick. Mark used to have a thriving podcast network with hundreds upon hundreds of downloads per episode, most of them bots, but he still had them. Then he brought me on.
Well, I would gladly trade you for all the bots in the world.
I know. I would look. The things I would trade myself for is a long list.
Thank you.
Hang on. So you went over the stuff we have coming up for Damn You Hollywood, so we'll be back soon talking other projects. We hope you've all had a great day. We hope you all are doing well out there. We hope you've enjoyed this occasionally rambling. I should have used my book. I should have used my book line. Once you got into the weeds on the Paramount stuff, I should have used it next time. I will next time. I had it right there. I should have done it. Lost opportunity. Oh well. Anyway, thank you all very much. I'm Robert. That's Mark. Say bye, Mark.
Bye, Mark.
Until next time, again, thank you all very much. Please stay safe out there and continue to be well, be safe, and behave.